If we're really conservative with your principal, would it be okay if we could be aggressive with just your interest? In other words, risking only the possibility of getting zero interest, not negative returns. Well, when we're willing to take those kinds of steps, we can now begin to participate in the market without risking your principal. Hi friends, I'm Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord & Richards, and I am once again delighted to be with you in another segment of the Lord & Richards Show. And what we're talking about every single day to people just like you is how to become retired financially independent. Another friend of mine calls it job optional. And when we're trying to accomplish a task like this, it is so much more challenging than simply setting aside money for the future. Once it's time to start living on your money, we enter a period in your life that becomes a danger zone. Because in that danger zone, it's possible for you to experience disruptions even after you've quit your job. And the worst thing we could see is you having to go back to work because of mistakes that were avoidable. Our process is called a financial independence review. And we not only test the past, but also the future to give you a 360-degree view of your likelihood of being able to retire when you want, with the budget that you want, and do the things that you want, all without having to go back to work or even work a part-time job. That's the name of the game, and that's what we're helping you with today on this particular segment. In a previous segment, I talked about this simple question. Have you heard about annuities? A lot of people will say, well, yeah, I've heard about them, but whoever I was talking to was very negative. A lot of times I find that may be a person who has another product that they prefer to sell. The easiest example would be somebody who's only authorized by their firm to work with mutual funds, or that's just their business model. That is not what a fiduciary does. You've heard the term fiduciary. It simply means somebody who acts in your best interest. And legally, as a fiduciary, you must do what is in the best interest of your client. And so opening up the field and looking across a broad array of tools, not one or two, but the entire universe of investment tools that can help construct your fiscal house is vital. And if you've got somebody who's ruling out whole categories of investments simply because they don't do them, you might want to start looking around. At Lord & Richards, when we meet with you, our first step is to find out how you feel about things like risk. Many people will share with me that in these troubling, volatile times with wars and market uncertainty and political uncertainty, they like the idea of reducing risk. Well, in our previous segment, I talked about 3 different kinds of annuities that are popular, that go way back. Immediate annuities go back ages, and they are simply ways of creating pensions like Social Security, like the pension you might get from your work or from the government. Then we move to another category where you save money inside of it. And it's protected. It's called a fixed annuity. You don't have any losses. Generally, they have no fees, so they're low cost, and your money grows at a fixed guaranteed rate, kind of like a certificate of deposit. As a matter of fact, they're direct competitors. And of course, you have to have a predefined period of time. The longer, the higher the growth. The shorter, the less the growth. And at the end of that time, you're free to do what you want with your money. But during that time, you have less liquidity. And then I introduced the concept of a variable annuity where people actually take risk with the portfolio. Not like a fixed annuity that's guaranteed not to lose money. A variable annuity can lose money. And so it's quite expensive to add features that will help protect your future income when it's time to draw that money or your future death benefit. So years ago, someone introduced kind of a hybrid solution. They said, what if we could take the great income guarantees of an immediate annuity, because a lot of folks are looking for steady, reliable income in retirement. We could take the principal protection and no fee chassis of a fixed annuity. Well, that's pretty cool. And then what's left? Well, if we could take the growth opportunity that it looks something like a variable annuity, but without the high fees, without the losses potentially in your portfolio, why, those would be great. Now, the one compromise across all kinds of annuities is that they are long-term investments, not suitable to be your emergency fund. That's why, as part of your financial independence review, I and my team will help you establish a liquid reserve that is more than enough to make sure that you are prepared for any challenges that come along life's way, with plenty of liquid cash to take care of those needs. But when it comes to funding a long retirement future, which is what I hope for you, we're going to have to look at longer-term investments that offer safety and protection of principal. That's where we get into a different class of annuity called a fixed indexed annuity. Now, I've heard a lot of people say negative things that once again have their own products or maybe their limitations with the company they work for. But folks, the idea again is, what are the tools that are out there that I can put in front of me to do the job of helping you build your fiscal house? And an annuity can be a viable option. For most of my retiree clients, they're not looking for the risk and the high fees of a variable annuity. They're not looking for the complete loss of control of an immediate annuity. And they're not looking for the low growth typical of a fixed annuity. What they really want is safety of principal, growth opportunity, not paying a lot of fees. And in that case, we're usually willing to compromise with some of our dollars to not only protect your principal, but exchange that low guaranteed rate that you would get in a fixed annuity for the opportunity to get more. In this concept, I talk about an idea, elevator up, never down. When your fixed indexed annuity credits interest, it's tied to the market instead of a fixed rate. So when the index that your annuity is linked to goes up, you get a credit. You get positive returns. But when the index that you're linked to goes down, you get a zero because we never risk your principal. You say, well, that sounds complicated. It's actually not. Just take that low guaranteed interest on a fixed annuity and imagine that's all we have, but we're going to take your fixed interest and we're going to go down to Vegas and gamble it. You say, I don't like gambling. Well, if we're really conservative with your principal, would it be okay if we could be aggressive with just your interest? In other words, risking only the possibility of getting zero interest, not negative returns. Well, when we're willing to take those kinds of steps, we can now begin to participate in the market without risking your principal. Elevator up, never down. This is a completely different concept than most people have been exposed to when it comes to annuities and other misunderstood financial tools. But at Lord & Richards, again, we have a wonderful team of financial professionals who can take your exact situation and as fiduciaries come alongside of you, acting in your best interest to develop a plan so you can retire financially independent. That plan might involve placing principal protected tools in your portfolio that reduce your risk, reduce the fear factor of retirement, and provide a greater degree of certainty, including, remember, guaranteed income. That's something only annuities can do. You can't get that from your mutual fund portfolio. You can't get that from a basket of exchange-traded funds. You can't even get that from your dividend stock. None of it is guaranteed. It's all based on performance. But inside of the tool, the fixed annuity linked or indexed to the market, you can, at some future date of your choosing, perhaps when you retire, begin to draw out money that will never run out as long as you, and if you're married, your spouse are both alive. That's an exciting tool that I'd love to introduce to you and tell you more about. It just starts with a simple phone call and an opportunity to have a conversation about your financial independence.